Hello guys, welcome back to my channel. Welcome to today's video. So today, as you can probably read from the title, but also from my outfit, today we are reviewing the Colourpop Daisy Does It collection. I believe this is their spring collection because it definitely is giving me a lot of spring vibes. I mean, it's all about daisies, so that is the ultimate spring flower, I feel. So I got the entire collection here today. It's a pretty big one, but I got everything in PR. So we're just going to swatch, play. I also have my 3 looks, of course, as always. So with that being said, let's go ahead and hop right into the review. So like I just mentioned, that this collection is pretty big, so I'm going to leave timestamps down below. I pretty much have timestamps on all of my videos, so if you wanted to skip to a certain part for a certain product, feel free to do so because this collection is quite big and I'm going to review it product by product. So of course, we always gotta start off with the eyeshadow palette, the Daisy Does It eyeshadow palette. The outer packaging is super cute. It's matching my outfit perfectly because I'm just decked out in all daisies today. This palette is $18 US. It is with the bigger eyeshadow pan. And actually in this palette, you will get 2 super shock shadows and then 3 metallics, and the remaining shades are all mattes. But within those mattes, there are 2 that have those little sparkly glitters in there, but I would still consider them to be a matte shadow. So there is a good ratio between matte to shimmer, and the overall color story I would say is quite warm with a pop of yellow. And when I saw this palette, I knew I was gonna like it because I think this half here is just up my alley. Like, these are the tones that I love. They are they're like muted, but like muted bright, you know what I mean? So I think this is a really great spring palette, especially for those of you that want to incorporate color, but you don't want to play with like bright, vibrant colors. These are a great way to incorporate this into your daily makeup. They work really great as a pop of color, but also with this color story, there is almost like a darker side to it with this sort of row here. You can go quite dark with it as well. So I think just overall, whatever spectrum of makeup you like, I think there is like something in this palette for you, and I think it does touch base on a lot of things. So I really enjoyed it. I got to use pretty much all of the shadows. I think the shade that I didn't get to use was this one called Shasta, which is just the darkest metallic. That's the only shade I didn't get to use. So everything else I used, it was pigmented, it blended out well. I didn't experience any patchiness, no issues with this palette. So overall, love the color story, and I had a lot of fun with my looks, and I think this is very much up my alley. So with that being said, let's talk about some comparisons. I think the most similar palette would have to be the Wild Nothing. I wouldn't say it's exactly the same, but I would say for the color story, it does give me a similar vibe. That Wild Nothing is definitely a lot lighter and more like daytime neutral, whereas Daisy Does It, it's still quite wearable and all of that, but I feel like the shades just go a little bit deeper and you do have that pop of yellow. But I would say the overall color story, the most similar one would have to be Wild Nothing. And then I'll put a couple of other comparisons. I think Garden Variety would be kind of similar as well, but I'll just put some others that, you know, would kind of give you a similar vibe, but it's not exactly the same. So I would say definitely Wild Nothing would probably have to be the most similar, but if I had to pick, I would probably pick Daisy Does It because I think these just go a little bit deeper and the tones are a little bit more me and more muted. Then we have a few Super Shock duos. So if you want to just get the single duo set, it is $10 US, but if you wanted to get all 3 sets, it is $28 US. The first one is called Prom. It has these shades, I don't know how to say the first one, and second shade is Corsage. This one will be a good one for a daily neutral lover, but you just want a hint of color. You have the light champagne gold, which is what I'm actually wearing on my inner corners today, and then you have like an icy minty green, so that is very pretty as well. Then the second duo is called Lawn Party. The shades we have are Beloved and Entranced. So I used Beloved on my lids today, and then Entranced is more of like a yellowy bronzy gold. So this one's definitely good for the warm tone lovers, but I guess with golds, we see this quite often, so it might not be the most unique. And then lastly, we have Flower Buds. And in this duo, you'll get Ray Day and Water Me. And this one is probably the one for the people that love color, because you have this like duochrome lilac shift to teal, and then you have that darker metallic teal as well. So I definitely think within the three, they did cater to each like level of intensity. Didn't get to use all of them. I only used 2 shades within my looks, but I will, of course, you probably already saw the swatches, but yeah, I do think these are pretty. It's just, I mean, there were 2 Super Shocks in the palette, so I don't know if these were like necessarily necessary, but I think with the Super Shocks, it does match the theme of spring, and the colors are pretty, you know. I love the Super Shocks, I just don't use them a lot. I just like to stick to palettes. So next up, we have the set of creme gel liners. There are 5 shades in here, and this goes for 25 USD. I already owned 2 of the shades, Extra Frosting and Sunny Veil. I actually completely finished Sunny Veil last year or the year before. It was part of their Sunflower collection, so that was already existing, and Extra Frosting is already existing. Maybe the other 3 shades are already existing as well, but I just don't own them. But this is a really nice little set. You do save a bit of money if you do purchase it this way, and I think all of the shades, all 5 shades, they complement the palette so well. Like, I did my 3 looks, and I based my 3 looks just on the palette, and I was like, you know, if I can use the creme gel liners, then I'll use it within my looks to show you guys, and everything planned out well. I was able to use all of the 5 creme gel liners within my 3 looks like naturally. They just like naturally brought the look together, because sometimes with these reviews I do try my best to like use everything, even if I don't want to use it, like if I was not filming, if that makes sense, because I want to show you guys, I want to show you what it looks like. I don't want to just hold a product and like talk about it, you know, like I want to show you like what it looks like, why I like it, why I don't like it, and it naturally just flowed with these shades. So I think they did a good selection of the shade, but of course just double check if you already have these shades, because some of them did come in past collections. But I do think it's a really cute set to have, and I love their creme gel liners. They're really easy to apply, and I think eyeliners just, especially on the bottom waterline, it just changes up the whole look. It can really bring the whole look together. So this would be a really great set to have, especially if you are a beginner, because there's a mix of metallics and mattes. Now for the Super Shock blushes, so there are 3 shades in total, and these are $8 each. So the 3 shades we have, the first one is called Dozy, which is more of like a vibrant coral orange, and then this shade here, don't know how to pronounce, so I'll leave it on the screen. It's actually the shade that I'm wearing right now. This one is more of like a brighter red coral, and then the darkest one is chamomile or chamomile. This one is a little bit more muted compared to the 2. I would say it's like a dusty rose kind of shade. You can't go wrong with the Super Shock blushes. It really just depends what you already have. I would say for the 2 brighter ones, I probably already have something very similar in my collection, but I think the darker one, chamomile, is a little bit more unique in my Super Shock blush collection. But I think all 3 are really pretty. Again, it just depends on what you already own, and I think these are great for the spring and summertime. I love these all year round, but you know, for the cream products and the brighter shades, it does fit really well with this collection and with the season. I mean, for those of you guys that are obviously in spring. Over here, we're not in spring. We are going into fall, although it's still been kind of hot here, so. And lastly, in the collection, we have the Fresh Kiss Glossy Lip Stains, and there are 6 shades in total, and these go for $8, but if you wanted to get all 6 as a set, it is $45. And I will leave my glossy lip stain lip swatch video and review up here if you'd like to hear more about the formula, because I know they have released a lot of new formulas and it's kind of like hard to keep with all of them. I am planning to do an updated lip guide, but I'm just kind of like waiting it out in case they release something else again. But I love this formula. I love the tint that it gives to my lips. I love how it stains my lips, and I think with these 6 shades, I think it was a good addition to their original lineup of the glossy lip stains, because the first lineup there was a lot of like muted reds and nudes, but with these 6 in this collection, it suits the collection itself, and there are more brighter colors, so it also adds to the overall lineup lineup, and I really do like the shades in here. I think a lot of them I'm gonna pull out and maybe keep it on my vanity for a bit because I just love the shades. I love, like, see, this is like quite bright, but it's like not too bright, you know what I mean? It's not like a true blue red. It's like, it's just perfect for spring. It's my type of color. So with that being said, that is pretty much the entire breakdown on this collection. If you wanted to purchase this collection as a whole, it is 125 USD, and if you wanted to get anything from this collection or anything on Colourpop's website, I do have an affiliated code. It is my name, Judy, at checkout for 10% off, and I truly do appreciate you guys using that. So with that being said and the review being done, let's go ahead and hop right into my 3 looks. Alright, so hopping into the first look, I'm going to start off with the shade Nice Stems, and this is going to be the base and transition shadow. I love this tone so much. It's like a really nice muted brown with a hint of mauviness to it. It's quite rosy. I love this shade. So I'm working that on my lid, and then I'm gonna slowly blend that up into my crease and a little bit higher, and also a little towards the outer corners. And then I'll also take that onto my lower lash line as well. I'm just gonna sweep this all over. Next, I'm gonna go into the shade Like Butter, and this is a really nice muted medium to dark tone brown, and I'm gonna focus this at the outer corners of my eyes to start creating depth. So this eye look I wanted to do and use colors that I just normally would, what speaks to me, just not really focusing on like being creative or whatever, just doing a look that is very me. And the technique is something I do all the time, so I'm just focusing this at the outer corner here, and then I'll also take a bit of that onto my lower lash line just at the outer third. Now going into the shade Innocent, I'm going to apply this to the center of my eyes. In the pan, it does look like it has more of a peach undertone with the gold reflex, but I think once you apply it to the eyes, it definitely has more of like a golden base and then more like peachy reflex. But I am also going to take that onto my lower lash line as well, like just at the center. Then taking Chain Letter, this is a Super Shock shadow, and I'm applying that to the inner third of my lid, into the inner corners, and also onto my lower lash line as well, just really highlighting that overall general inner corner area. And this is kind of similar to Innocent. It has like a really nice like peachy reflect. I would say it has more peachy reflect rather than gold compared to the shade Innocent that we just used. Then I'll also be taking the creme gel liner in the shade Extra Frosting, and I'm going to use this to tightline my entire bottom waterline to really help open up the eyes. And then taking the Super Shock Cheek in the shade Chamomile or Chamomile. I can't remember exactly which way is correct, or maybe both is incorrect. I am using this shade for my blush today. It is a really nice rosy red. It's not too bright, but it is the darkest one out of the 3. And then to sort of match the blush, I'm taking the Fresh Kiss Glossy Lip Stain from this collection in the shade Popular Culture. This is more of like a berry red. It's like a good in between a berry and a true red, but I think it matches the blush really well, and it's a nice pop of color for this neutral look. And this is the first look completed. Like I mentioned just before, that for this first look I wanted to do a look that was just me. These are the shades that I would pick out from this palette if I was to do a everyday glam look. You guys know I love my muted rosy tones, my warm tones, so of course I love how it turned out, and I hope you guys like it too. Alright, so now hopping into the second look, I'm starting off with the shade Rooted. This is going to be the base color, the transition for this eye look. So I'm just taking that all over my lid, and then I'll slowly blend that up into my crease. As you can see, it's a really nice light neutral brown, so it works great for this purpose. So I'm also going to take that onto my lower lash line as well. So I forgot to mention that I used the shade Pinwheel just to blend out the outer edges on a really big fluffy blending brush just so we could get that yellow going around the eyes, and this is a really nice way to blend out that base color. Next, going into the shade Spun, I'm going to be focusing this at the outer corners of my eyes first. It is a dark mossy green, so with a darker shadow, I don't like to take too much on my brush because they are more pigmented and it just requires a little bit more work to blend. So just taking a little bit, building up that pigment and then slowly blending that out. I'm also going to take that into the inner third of my eyes as well because we are creating a halo eye. So I'm just pretty much leaving the middle of my lids blank of this darker shadow because we're going to be placing a lighter metallic. But on my lower lash line, I am going to run Spun all over just to sort of get that base going. Now going into the shade Bloom Room, this is going right at the center of our eyes where we didn't put any of the eyeshadow. This is a really beautiful muted green and it's such a pretty color. Like, it's green but it's almost like quite neutral leaning. So the shade is super pigmented as you can see, but I am going to be blending that up into my crease and also towards the outer edges. I don't want it to look like there's like a stripe on my eyes. I want to like blend that out into the other shadows. And I also do take this onto my lower lash at the center, just aligning those shadows. Then going into the shade So Fresh, which is another Super Shock in the palette. I'm going to focus this right at the center of my eyes. This is more of like a yellowy gold, so it's really going to bring out those gold glitters from Bloom Room that we placed down earlier, and it's just going to highlight that halo eye just a little bit more. And because I felt like this look just needed a little bit more sparkle, I did take the Urban Decay Heavy Metal Glitter in the shade Space Cowboy, and I'm applying that directly at the center as well, above my crease, so that way when my eyes are open you can just see those little sparkles. And then I also applied it to my bottom lash line as well. I'm then going into the Creme Gel Liner in the shade IDYLLIC. I don't know what that means, but that is the dark green, and I'm going to focus this at the outer corner and in a third of my bottom waterline. And then I'm going to take Captivating and I'm going to apply that to the center, so sort of using these cream gel liners to do a halo effect. And now onto the cheeks, I'm taking the Super Shock cheek in the shade Doozy, and I'm going to apply that to the apples of my cheeks, blending that back into my bronzer. This is a really nice peachy orange, and I love matching peach blushes with green eye looks. It's very complimentary. And then for my lip color, taking the glossy lip stain in the shade Tree Hugger, I'm applying this all over my lips, and it's the perfect like My Lips But Better kind of shade, and I think it goes really well with this eye look. So this, you guys, is the second look completed. This is definitely another color story that you can get out of this palette because we do have those greens to play with. I think it's another step up from neutrals, but it's still very wearable, you could say, because it's not too bright and vibrant, but it's still very subtle. And I also did add a little gem underneath my eye as well, which you guys may have noticed. But yeah, I really loved how this look turned out, and I hope you guys like it too. And now onto the final look. I'm starting off with the shade Flower Girl. This is going to be the base color for our eye look, so I'm just sweeping that all over my lid, and I'm gonna slightly blend that up into my crease. This is a really nice muted peachy color, so it works great for this look. So I'm just gonna also take that onto my lower lash line as well, just sweeping that from the outer corner right to the inner corner. Now taking the shade Top Pick, which is the yellow. It has a little bit of glitters in there, but you don't really see too much of that on the eyes. But I'm gonna take this on a very small blending brush, and I'm just gonna use circular motions at the outer edge of Flower Girl. And this is going to give us this sort of sunset looking eye look, which I absolutely love. So I'm gonna be taking one of these Super Shocks. It's the light gold. I do not know how to pronounce this, so you'll see the shade name on the bottom of the screen here. But this is from the Prom Super Shock Duo set, and I'm actually just going to use this as my inner corner highlight, and I think it's the perfect inner corner highlight. It's a light gold, but then I'm going to go into another Super Shock. The shade is called Beloved, and this is from the Lawn Party duo set. And I'm gonna just use my finger and lightly dab that at the center of my eye. Since we haven't used any metallics yet, I just want a bit of satin sheen on my eyes to just enhance the look a little bit more. Now I'm going into the creme gel liner in the shade Sunny Veil. I'm gonna use this to tightline my upper waterline, and then I'll also bring a little bit of that onto my lash line because I will use the shade Like Butter, which is the medium brown from the palette, and I'm gonna use this to help smudge this eyeliner out. And I'll also take that on a skinny paintbrush. I've been really liking doing my wing this way recently. I feel like it's just a little soft baby wing. And then one more creme gel liner. I'm using the shade On Point, and I'm gonna use this to tightline my entire bottom waterline. It blends perfectly well into that peachy color. And then taking the last Super Shock cheek, I will put the name on the bottom here because I also don't know how to pronounce this, but it is the Brighter Red, and today I'm using it with my brush, and I'm just gonna stamp that on to the apples on my cheek. And then for my lip color, taking the glossy lip stain in the shade Virtue. I just thought this more orangey based lip would match with our sunset eyes. So this, you guys, is the final look. Of course, I had to do something spring and daisy-like for this daisy collection. It just made sense, and I love how this look turned out. It was so simple. We only used a couple shadows, and I think the overall look looks very youthful and bright and spring-like, so I always feel good in this type of makeup. So I love how it turned out, and I hope you guys like it too. Alright guys, so those were my 3 looks. What do you guys think? Which look was your favorite? I probably will have to go with look 3 for me personally, although I do love all 3. I mean, look number 1 was my go-to look, but I think look 3, it just embodies the collection a little bit more. I love the spring vibes that it gives off, so I will go look 3, but let me know your favorite down below. Also, let me know, what do you think of this collection? Did you guys pick it up? Are you going to pick it up? I would love to know. So with that being said, if you guys did enjoy today's video, if you found it helpful, if you could give the video a thumbs up for me, I'd appreciate it so much. It really does help out my channel. That does conclude today's video, guys. Thank you so much for watching. As always, I love you so much, and I'll go ahead and see you guys in my next video. Bye!